following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Go Cowboys! This is the DallasCowboys.com Draft Show. Your war room for insider news and draft analysis from deep within the confines of Cowboys headquarters at the Star in Frisco.
The Dallas Cowboys select Michael Parsons. Woo!
And now, your hosts, Brian Broaddus, Jeff Kavanaugh, Kyle Yeomans, and David Hellman.
It is Tuesday, February 8th. Welcome aboard. Guys, it feels like it's been a lifetime. I think that'll happen when you disappear to the Senior Bowl and then there's a snowstorm. In reality, it's only been a week since we've been together. Welcome back to the Draft Show. I'm David Hellman. I'm joined by Jeff Kavanaugh, Brian Broaddus, and the newly engaged Kyle Yeomans.
Yeah, I saw the picture.
Congratulations,
It looks like
buddy.
she said yes.
She did. Yeah,
Okay,
thank
that's
goodness.
incredible.
That would have been awkward.
I just will take you behind the curtain. I'm glad this all worked out for you, man, because
Goodness.
the whole time we were in Mobile, I think we had 4 flight changes and had to change cities to get the hell out of there with all the weather in Dallas. And the whole time Kyle was like, as long as I'm back by Sunday morning, I have an important obligation on Sunday.
I have a thing.
I'm sitting there like, I just want to go drink with Jeff.
Yep.
We pulled that off on Sunday.
yeah, we did,
David
yeah.
pulled that off.
So
I'm glad it worked out for y'all,
While
too.
you were making life-altering decisions, we were having some Miller Lights, which
Well, that's good.
The Draft Show is brought to you by Miller Lite. But
Yeah.
Congratulations, Kyle. That's awesome.
Well, thank you.
And now I'll do my best Brian impression. Say, yeah. Let's get to the draft.
talk to the
Move it
draft.
along.
No, did
Golly.
anybody try and talk you out of it?
No, not yet.
Brian, don't
do your thing. Don't do your
don't
thing
do
right
it
now.
Don't do it, Brian.
He's got a bit where it's everybody's best friend's job to tell them not to get married
Not
or
to
something.
do it.
It's you let the man be happy for a second.
No, I mean, you have to, as a friend, you have to say,
Just to ask, right?
you have to ask because that's a definition of a true friend. Again, another true friend will not ask another one to help him move.
Yeah.
That's another thing.
buddy. The older I get,
Yeah.
the truer that rings.
Yeah.
My
So,
back can't do
congratulations.
Hi, Kelsey.
I asked him. Yeah, I asked him. Yeah.
Well, thank you.
We're good.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun. It was a great day and got to celebrate with a bunch of people afterwards. So lots of fun. She's happy. I'm happy. Everybody's happy. And yeah, nobody tried to talk me out of it. So maybe I don't have any friends.
You don't have
out
any
there.
friends then.
Well,
Maybe that's the case.
So
but
you have to ask, Jeff.
yeah. Well,
You have to ask.
maybe he just
The
has,
man just figured out he doesn't have any
I
friends.
don't have any friends, I
maybe
guess.
he has different kinds of friends.
Maybe maybe everybody just feels that good about this.
I'm hoping that's probably
That's
the
what
answer.
it is. Well, we're all very happy for you.
Well,
all right.
thank you.
Enough of this sentimental
Yeah, let's
crap.
talk draft.
Let's get to the Senior Bowl. We're all back. Kyle and I were there. You guys had a front row seat on NFL Network, just like everybody else. So I just want to do this first segment. We kind of previewed it. We had some guys we wanted to keep an eye on. We'll just go around. Big impressions, obvious. I mean, there's going to be risers and fallers. Is faller a word? Guys that stood out
Sure.
to you. Brian, I want to start with you because, again, I'm always fixated on the Cowboys. And so, honestly, these quarterbacks,
I did, yeah.
they don't mean anything to me because I know none of them are going to wear a Cowboys uniform. But with as many first-round prospects as were there, I do think it's worth talking about just in the sense of that is going to help shape the first round, and I'm curious for your thoughts.
Yeah, no, I actually thought that when you watch these quarterbacks play, and I'm one of these guys that I understand what Corral is from Mississippi. I like Willis, from Liberty. Those are like my top 2 guys. And then I'm kind of trying to sort out with what Howell and Pickett and Strong and Ritter. And I think the Senior Bowl did a really good job at too with Zappi there as well. That that you got to see these guys throw the ball live in practice. You got to see them actually play in the game. They divided up depending on how many reps and stuff you get. But I really do feel like the Howell kid from North Carolina helped himself in this game. I really do. I think there's a lot of people sleeping on him right now. But if you watch the way that he played, and in this league, we all watch the game. So we understand that the mobility of the quarterback is important. And I thought with him, he did a great job of avoiding the rush, keeping eyes downfield, making good throws. Those are the types of things that I think that you could take from this and say, oh, okay, this is why this kid is this. And, the thing I'll go back with a guy like Zappi, say, from him, you can see if you watch the Western Kentucky tape, as good as he was throwing the football and how accurate he is, he doesn't have the arm strength of the other guys. You can clearly see that watching him play. And I'm not talking about the final play, the Hail Mary and all that stuff like that. But overall, when you watch him throw the ball, it is clearly different than the other quarterbacks. So I think overall, though, you kind of got a good idea of how some of these guys are going to look and how they're going to play, how they're going to take to pro coaching through the practices, and then what you saw with the game.
So the line coming out of Mobile is that, and this is just a general statement, but the overall vibe I'm getting is that people view Kenny Pickett as maybe the safest guy that was there. Do you think that's fair, or do you think it's Howell?
You know what, to me, Pickett probably in a lot of people's minds. I just think that going in, there was a lot of people that thought very highly of Howell. And then the season at North Carolina didn't go like it was supposed to. But all of a sudden, though, you're in a situation where, if you watch his tape of North Carolina and you watch all his throws and stuff like that, I mean, you see a guy that's got the arm talent, that can stand on the left hash, throw it all the way to the right sideline, make plays, mobility, all those things. I just feel like that he was a guy that people kind of forgot about. And now he's kind of back in the picture. But Pickett's a guy, too, that, I mean, again, it just, we always talk about the ice cream, it's just the flavor you like. Me personally, though, I wish Corral wouldn't have gotten hurt in the bowl game, because I think he would have been at the Senior Bowl, and you've got to see him as well. But the quarterbacks that got the opportunity to participate, I thought held up very, very well.
I think there was, and I completely agree with the fact on Sam Howell kind of elevating himself through the game. Through practices, I felt like he kind of got lost in the shuffle with some of the oohs and the ahs of Malik Willis and what he was able to do, because his arm strength was on full display, because he's always been known for that mobility, that running attack.
Right.
But he had some zip on the ball. Every time it left his hands, it was on point. He had the accuracy. Sam Howell never had that same kind of moxie to him in practice, but then he came to the game and just dealed in the middle of Saturday.
He's when you watch him throw, and again, we're getting into quarterbacks here and stuff. To me, but you watch the way he stands in the pocket and throws. It's really an overhand throwing motion. I mean, it's not these quarterbacks in day and age. We've seen the ones we've evaluated. They're all can sling it around guys and stuff like that. This is an over the top thrower, is what this guy is. And I've always kind of felt like him not getting to watch a lot of North Carolina practice and stuff. I'm sure if you were scouting and you went to Chapel Hill and you sat down and said, oh, okay, maybe he's not a great practice player, maybe he's not this or that or the other. But I think when you watch him play in the game, I mean, all these quarterbacks has traits that you're kind of like, okay, if I draft this guy, this is what I'm going to get. Mm-hmm. And I think it was a good week for all these guys. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm worried about Strong's knee. The kid from out there in
You're
Reno.
always such a bummer with the medicals.
Well, I'm
always.
But that's
worried about Pickett's hands.
Yeah, but that's something.
His dislocated thumb.
His thumb.
His
Yeah.
double jointed thumb.
Did he have on the Pickett with his gloves too? Right.
Always.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah, the gloves. And
how can you hold a ball like this? It's hard.
I don't know. He does a pretty good job of it, but I mean,
got to the Heisman ceremony that way.
Yeah,
that's true.
I think the thing was Strong. I think when you really, really dig in on him, that knee is going to be a problem, and he talked about it at the game, that it's something that where he has detached cartilage and from the bone and stuff like that, and he's he didn't wear a brace, and there's a lot. I mean, there's people that if you like him, you're going to have to kind of put some of the medical stuff aside for him as well.
Real quick, because there's plenty of other guys we want to get to,
sure.
But.
I feel like I talked too long about quarterbacks there.
But that's it's fascinating to me, because the idea going into Senior Bowl week was like, these quarterbacks are like mid-round picks, and even then you might be overdrafting.
Yeah.
Reminds me of Mac Jones. Like, he wasn't a consensus first-rounder when he got to Mobile. Then there's smoke that he's going to go as high as 2. Then he settles into 15. So did any of these guys change that outlook? I mean, I can imagine Howell really climbing up the draft boards.
The only one I have in the first round is Corral, and then from that point on, it's Willis, Howell, Pickett, and then even lower than that, Strong, Ritter, and then Zappi. That's kind of the order that I have them right now. But Corral's my only top first round type of guy.
The one guy we didn't see this week. Good to know.
Yeah.
Jeffrey.
What happened?
What else stood out to you from Senior Bowl week? Who'd you like? Who didn't you like?
Okay, I'm going to go with guys I like. And one of them is Roger Mccreary, the cornerback from Auburn, because I like to pay attention when they do the measurements because I know what NFL teams do. And so there's going to be NFL teams that don't like Roger Mccreary, the cornerback from Auburn. Why? Because he's got tiny arms. He's got the T-Rex thing going on. So his arms are like 29 and change.
So he won't be here.
Yeah, he won't be here, but he's worth mentioning because
At least he goes
he's really
to a big
good.
school.
Yeah, he goes to a big school.
True.
But because I had watched his tape like right after the measurements, and I was like, all right, let's see what this tiny arm guy is about. And what the tiny arm guy is about is being better at covering than anyone else in the class.
Yep.
It's like you can't get away from him. He's the sticky cover guy that plays press man with his 29-inch arms in the SEC on the outside. And Roger Mccreary's a baller. I would not be surprised if he goes in the first round. I would not hate if he were a Cowboy, but I know how the NFL works, and I think there's a lot of teams that are going to look at him and just be like, nope, not for us, because he's a sub-6-foot, short-armed guy. But just throwing that name out there, Roger Mccreary's a baller.
I'll tell you what, Jeff has got this kid nailed. And I'll tell you what's even more impressive, and I'll let Kyle get into this as well. This kid, when you watch him play in the red zone, he doesn't give up anything in the red zone. And I watched Alabama, Georgia, Kentucky, LSU. He's not giving up anything to these guys. And I think that's the thing. You could talk about short arms and all that, but where he has short arms, he has really good feet, almost great feet. You know, the way he's able to move and react and things like that. So, yeah, if you talk about first-round corners, he's right there in that mix with our guy at Cincinnati, LSU, and Auburn. I think he's right in that mix with those guys.
No, I like him a lot, too. I had him as like an early second-round grade, but he's probably my number 3 corner on my list of guys that I've watched so far. I watched that LSU game, but the Alabama game was the one that I really was impressed with because he was going up against Williams on one play and then Petrie on the other play, and every single time he was traveling. He was not stuck on one side of the field. He traveled. He has versatility to play outside. He can play in the slot, and like Jeff said, he is so sticky. He's in the hip pocket of every single receiver, no matter what the route tree has to deal with, and he's so fluid in doing so. You mentioned footwork. That was one of the things that I had bolded was his footwork is almost phenomenal.
You can't be a sticky man cover player if you don't have great feet.
No.
You just can't. You can't have slow feet. You can't react. I mean, your feet can get you out of a lot of problems. And again, I think both these guys got the player absolutely right.
The overall theme of the week seems to be that the defensive line talent in Mobile was otherworldly. And I think I agree. I mean, Jermaine Johnson kind of speaks for himself.
Right.
Y'all can talk about it if you want. I mean, he took Thursday off. I just think that basically says everything you need to know. He whooped everybody so bad that he was like, I think I'm done here.
Well, I don't think Jermaine Johnson, and I'm only speaking for me, like I don't think his tape was overwhelming.
Yeah.
I didn't have him as a first-round guy.
No.
Watching him on tape. Yeah. And then you go to the Senior Bowl and,
How high do you think he climbed with this? Or how much do you think he helped himself?
teens or 20s.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think watching him, I was like, okay, like that's a nice built dude, but most of the times, if you're going to ask about his sack production and when he made his best plays, it was rushing people down the middle as a 260-pounder, like straight arm or through the chest, or I managed to swipe hands and run around. But like he's not a bendy guy, but he's a pretty strong run player whose pass rush plan is pretty much swat hands and run, and not bend, but swat hands and run, or run down the middle. And like that's not a very diverse rush plan.
No.
So I'm like, okay, it's like a second-round DN, see what he turns into. And then at the Senior Bowl, it's like, wait, he has 83 pass rush moves, and
he can bend, and he's quicker than everybody else. There was one drill where they were going in the rectangle with the pads up tight, and he was the last one to go out of the edge rushers. And I was like, okay,
That's a smart plan. See how it works.
Making mental notes and just kind of rolling. And then he went, and I swear, if I would have had a stopwatch, it would have been twice as fast. And the form, the footwork, the moves. You mentioned it. He somehow added to his arsenal in the 4 weeks where he wasn't playing football at the collegiate level. But he looks like a bottom half first round talent.
Shout out to Exos.
We all love these. Yeah, exactly. We all love these Georgia defensive lineman, right? Mm-hmm. This kid was part of the Georgia defensive lineman.
That's
He was
terrifying.
part of that group.
Oh
so they
Kind of buried on the depth chart.
Yeah, and then he said, well, I'll go to Florida State and I'll be their best defensive players. And Florida State's had a lot of issues there. But, I'll tell you something about the kid. Jeff talked about the pass rush stuff. He's really plays the run very, very well. There was times in the North Carolina game where they tried to double team him, and he's like, nah. I'm not having any of this. Able to kind of, get through those and get in on the ball and stuff like that. That's tough. When you have a player that's playing that hard every single week and they're getting beat, but you consistently see him throughout the game and he doesn't look like he's beat down by the whole scoreboard and all that. It just reminds me of a guy like Ron Leary when I watched him play. That when he was at Memphis, he was getting just beat down every single game and played hard. And there's something about that for a kid when it's not great on the scoreboard and they're still out there busting their ass.
Can I take you another place with the defensive line?
Yeah, hell yeah.
Okay.
We're not going to get to all of them. There's like 10 of them.
Because so many of the defensive tackles stood out. And I think
sorry, if you're not going to bring him up, I at least just need to say the name Perrion Winfrey.
Former center, yeah, good
he
call.
just dominated. Senior Bowl MVP, 2 sacks. Kyle wrote about him. You can go read it on the site. Just dominated the Wednesday practice.
Another guy who's
I figured that's who you weren't going to bring up.
Well, I was just going to more so even as an overarching Cowboys topic, because what I would like to get out there with the draft is on this team right now, you probably need a nose tackle, a one technique, a big boy space eater, more than you need the
3 technique, athletic, pass rusher.
Yeah. And so like a guy like Travis Jones jumped out at me, Connecticut, 327 pounds.
This is going to be an interesting study.
And he's a good player on tape, too. Like he is. He's a space eater that can stay in there versus double teams and versus single teams. He's going to walk you to the quarterback. I thought he was a day 2 guy on tape, and he helped himself in Mobile, so he probably goes in the second round.
Wow.
Guys like, and I could be crazy because again,
I think you're on.
I'm not staring at everybody's rankings. If I'm telling you what I saw, and if I'm wrong, whatever.
I've got a chance to be really wrong about this guy.
Don't like him?
No, the problem I have, and maybe I was having a bad day watching tape.
Yeah, it's your fault.
Maybe
sometimes like it was like maybe 1:30 in the morning and I was still watching tape. And the only 2 games I had were Yale and Houston. And for some reason, I'm like, I didn't think that blockers had a very difficult time with him.
I have the Clemson game I can send you.
Okay, was he all over the place in the Clemson game?
He didn't have a problem with any of their blockers.
See, but that to me, it was one of those things where, like, the ball went by him in the running game several times, and I was really surprised to hear how well he was playing at the Senior Bowl. And I'm like, man, I wonder if this is the same guy, because he's the numbers you say, he's a 6'4", 330-pound guy, but I didn't see nearly enough where, we've seen some of these big defensive linemen. Okay, I watched this Neil Ferrell from LSU, and I'm watching Neil Ferrell basically the same height, weight, and he's moving around all over the place and getting in the backfield and stuff. So maybe I need to watch the Clemson game. But I was glad to hear that Travis Jones at least had a really good week of practice, because I didn't feel like the tape that I watched was good enough for him to make me feel like, oh, wow, if you need a one technique, And by the way, your guy from Oklahoma who plays as that head-up nose, they're going to look at him as a 3.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I would hope so, based on what he did.
Yeah. Well,
I didn't think his tape was good. I thought he was a day 3 guy, and then he destroyed the Senior Bowl. And I'm like, okay, what do I do? Like, how far can you move a guy up based on a week of practices?
3 practices in a game.
And the answer for me was I moved him up pretty significantly.
Yeah. See, there's a couple of these guys, like I say, him, Jones. You're gonna have to go back and dig on some tape. You're gonna have to find, and you're not gonna make stuff up like, oh, I'm now making this up. If you see the guy for what he is probably what he is. Your first look at him is probably what he is.
And I wanted to touch on another thing. Like, that's the big boys, which I think is the bigger Cowboy need. But the other thing I would want to get out there is don't think 3 technique should be off the table.
No.
Hell no.
Because, like, the Bengals, he's not what he was, but, like, when they had Geno Atkins, Chris Jones for the Chiefs, like, those are your 3 techniques. Those are your game changers. We get, I think, Cowboy fans and us, you get so familiar with this roster that you're like, oh, Osa did some nice things.
Yeah.
And, oh, man, Neville Gallimore, not bad. And,
Doesn't mean
Tristan
you're
Hill,
set
he's
at
okay.
all. Nope.
Yeah.
If you think that, say, Devontae Wyatt, Georgia,
that's who I was
going to
mention.
best get off in the draft draft class at
Yeah.
D-tackle.
Yeah.
If you think he can be a real-life difference maker,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter that you have Tristan Hill, Neville
Yeah.
Gallimore, and Osa.
Boy, I'm glad you brought up Wyatt because to me, when you start talking about, you watch Georgia play, and it's clear. I mean, and I know Jordan Davis is a big man and all that, but man, it's like Wyatt is off the ball like all those guys, all those defensive linemen for Georgia come off the ball. But I mean, he's like the first one with the initial quickness and stuff, and that's what helps him. I mean, the movement, the way, the initial quickness, they use him on twist stunts and things like that. There's a lot of things that you can do with Wyatt from Georgia to help your scheme.
Before we go to break, did y'all have a chance to watch if I have a pet cat coming out of Senior Bowl week, as long as we're on this topic, it's probably Otito Ogbonia out of UCLA.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he was really impressive. And like along the line of what y'all are talking about with Travis Jones, he's massive.
Yeah.
He's 6'3", 326. And I think he could play both positions. Like, I mean, he gave your boy Zion Johnson all he could handle.
Easy, bro.
I'm just saying.
Easy.
A couple
both
guys
of you.
gave Zion Johnson
Easy.
all that they could handle.
Oh, you mean the offensive lineman of the week from his team?
Yeah, kind of.
You guys are saying he
No,
got
no,
beat up a lot.
no,
He
no,
sure did
actually,
win an
He
award.
get beat up.
I
but
did
he
want
still
to.
get the one.
I thought he
Tough being a
built.
lineman.
I thought he built as the week went along. Like I texted you, he was on the ground a lot on Tuesday, and as the
Well, they
week
put
went
him
along,
at center. My guy's never been there.
as the week went along,
Yeah, he
I
had
thought he
to
got better.
adjust.
You
I
guys
still
get ready
think
for number 24.
there's got to
Zion
be
Johnson.
there's got to be like at least 6 D tackles that really helped themselves out last week.
Yeah.
All right. Shoot, we could do another segment at the end of the show about guys we haven't gotten to, but
Talk about your guy Petrie.
Got a lot more. Yeah.
before
Got a lot
that,
more.
Jalen Petrie.
before that, we got Twitter on the 20 right after this break. We'll be right back.
At Smoothie King, we are blending goodness to fuel your greatness. Every blend is crafted to help you achieve your health and fitness goals. Smoothie King uses only whole fruits and organic veggies. You'll never find sugary syrups or artificial flavors, colors, or preservatives. And unlike some other smoothie places, there are 0 grams of added sugar in many of our blends. Smoothie King is proud to be the official smoothie of the Dallas Cowboys. Place your order in the app or online for pickup or delivery. Smoothie King, rule the day.
What do you call a group of grown men and women with their faces painted silver and blue who get together every week to share a 3-hour-long ritual of jumping, singing, and toasting Miller Lite in 10-gallon hats while yelling, "How about them Cowboys?" You call it Miller Time in Dallas. Here's to the Cowboys. Here's to the original light beer. It's Miller Time. Celebrate responsibly. 2021 Miller Brewing Company, Fort Worth, Texas.
Football season is almost over, and that means tax season is here. With it comes taxiety. Filing taxes can be stressful if you choose the wrong partner. Don't let taxiety take over this tax season. Liberty Tax will help you get your largest possible refund or your money back. With more than 12,000 tax professionals nationwide, help is always around the corner. Check out Liberty Tax, proud partner of the Dallas Cowboys. Schedule an appointment today at libertytax.com/cowboys. Liberty Tax, a brighter way to do taxes.
Hey, Cowboys fans, if you're thinking about attending a game this season, visit cowboystravel.com to book your travel package today. Stay at the team hotel, have dinner with a Cowboys legend, and experience AT&T Stadium's exclusive VIP Owners Club. Also, tour the Star, get autographs from your favorite players, and talk X's and O's with me, Mickey Spagnola. The official travel partner of the Dallas Cowboys will take care of all your travel needs. Visit cowboystravel.com.
This is the DallasCowboys.com Draft Show.
Welcome back to the Draft Show segment 2. You know what that means.
Twitter on the 20.
Beam on the. He was ready on cue. We are rounding into form here.
He was good last Tuesday when we filled in for you
we
guys.
are rounding into form here. I'm excited about it. Let's just get right into it. My buddy Joe. Hey Joe, how you doing? A lot of talk about left guard at pick 24. I think going back to the first segment, the 2 names we've heard the most of, Kenyon Green out of Texas A&M, Zion Johnson out of Boston College. Obviously, probably early to know if both of those guys are right for that range, but he wants a comparison between the 2. How do you feel about those guys?
I think Green at A&M to me is a higher ceiling guy, and Brian hates these words. He's not sure what they mean.
I'm not sure what you're talking about now.
But Green, between the flexibility, like
That's another conversation. But
with Kenyon Green, the A&M guy, he's my number 1 guard. One of the things that jumps out immediately is literally his stance. like he is so comfortable for a 320-pound or whatever guy with knee bend and with using that to generate power. So, like, I think Kenyon Green is the more powerful player that might have the better tools. And I think Zion Johnson is, like, everything in my notes is just good. And it's just like, that's him. He's just a rock solid player. They both played multiple positions. So I think both of them are step-in starters at guard. And I'm a big Zion Johnson fan. I would not have a problem at 24 picking him. Kenyon Green, I'd be excited to pick at 24.
Yeah, I think Jeff has got the players right. I'll tell you what, I think with Kenyon Green, you have a guy that's a little bit more confident on sitting down on his guy when he has to deal with a power player. And I think that's something, Jeff hit it with the knee bend and the balance and the strength and all that. The thing I worry about Zion Johnson a little bit about, I don't think he completely trusts himself just to sit down on his guy. And I mean, because he's just if you had to tell me, I think Johnson's actually a better athlete. And I think Green's a better power player.
Yes.
When I look at the two. And if you said,
I can hear Cowboy fans screaming for the better power player right now.
Well, if you're
Zion Johnson's the best sustainer I've seen at guard in years.
That's
in terms of when he gets hands on someone.
Yeah.
He does not fall off.
Yeah, I mean,
it doesn't happen.
They both. I mean, I'm not saying that Zion Johnson doesn't have power, because you could see in the running game he'll get some movement. Yeah. But I think that Kenyon Green is the guy that. Because one of my favorite things is, like, he plays to the echo of the whistle. Like, they're still they've blown the whistle and he's still like driving a guy over a pile or something like that. And
That's what you want.
I kind of like that about him. I really, really do. But nothing against Johnson. I just think that Green's a more powerful player, and I think Johnson's a little bit better athlete.
You guys are spot on, because you bring up the strength of Green, and his lower body is just nuts to me. I mean, I think his balance.
He's knock-kneed, though. You ever notice him from, like, on the side? His knees turn in
just a little bit.
Yeah, and you're kind of like, I go, man, that's a funny lower body there.
Yeah, but he's strong.
But he is strong.
He's strong, and he
thick.
can power
he's
through.
He's really thick in the lower body.
The thing about Zion Johnson that I think will be evaluated over and over again that I really like is one, like you said, the confidence level. This is a guy who got to Boston College after playing at Davidson. Yeah. I mean, he was playing with a press box that's no bigger than what the podcast studio is that we're in right now.
Bounce house in the end zone.
I don't even know if they could afford
worked for that guy
houses.
At Golden State.
Yeah, that's true. They found that guy from Steph Curry from Davidson.
True.
But he played 3 seasons there, got to Boston College, and immediately was a starter, immediately played really well, and was the best offensive guard potentially in the ACC, maybe in the country. And if that's not enough for me to build his confidence, I don't know what could be.
It's just the thought. Again, that's just my thought of, like I said, I think that the guy, I think he's got enough strength and enough power. I just don't know. I mean, to me, I thought this guy was going to come out last year.
Yeah.
And then he went back. And I was kind of like, oh, okay.
He played better.
He sure did.
I'll be honest. I went into this question assuming I would come out of it just like, Green is the much better option. But I'm hearing a lot of Zion love.
It's an ice cream thing. I honestly think.
I don't these guys are. I don't think you could go wrong with either one of these guys. I really, really don't. I think that if you plug them in and play, you're going to be really happy. And I know that the things that Jerry Jones covets when he starts talking about protecting the front of that pocket, both these guys can do that. But I think Green would be a little bit better at it than Johnson would.
Real quickly, sorry, Dave. Is there any question on the scheme fit for both of these guys? Because I feel like Green could fit into any scheme he's placed into and can play both guard positions, potentially could work out to right tackle, whereas Johnson, on the other hand, I think is pretty limited, and they tried him at center, but I don't know if that's going to be a long-term answer.
Do you feel that way anyway?
As long as you're playing, if you're talking about playing them both at guard,
sure,
then I don't think either one has any limitations. Like, I think both of them are really good zone blockers. Zion Johnson's great on the move, left or right.
I love how he gets to the second level.
Yeah, so I think both of them fit fine. Now, Kenyon Green, the bonus is if somebody quits your team or something and it's like, hey, we need a insert offensive line position, he'd go, I've played that.
Yep. There you go.
Yeah, he played left tackle against Alabama, and it wasn't bad.
Yeah.
They won that game, right?
Yeah,
That's
right tackle against Kent State. That was fun to watch.
Yeah.
All I need to know. All right. Bobless wants to know, You feel better losing Randy Gregory if you have George Karlaftis out of Purdue, David Ajabo out of Michigan, or Jermaine Johnson out of Florida State. If you come away from the first round with one of those guys, can you tolerate losing Randy Gregory?
Give me Karlaftis if you're going to pick a guy.
Why?
I kind of feel like, to me, with him, you could play him at both spots. And again, this whole thing with position flex, I've had enough of it. But this guy will. I mean, because what he can do is he's super impressive with the technique that he plays with, because he's going to rush to the level of the quarterback. There's a lot of these guys, these young rushers, that they get way too deep. He goes flying by the guy. He never gets a hand. He always seems to like the swat, the swim, the rip, the pull. All that stuff is getting him to the level of the quarterback. And when you get to the right spot, you're going to find a way to make a lot of plays. And this guy's got a burst, and he can redirect. I mean, there's a lot of positive things about him. I talk about the double team blocks a lot of times. He's going to see his share of those, but they knew where he was. I mean, Notre Dame and Iowa, when I was watching those games, they knew where he was on the field, and they tried to double team him, and this guy was still making plays because of his smarts and the technique. I would be totally on board having a rusher like this guy.
Yeah, Randy Gregory's staying, so
I agree with you.
I'm totally down with drafting another one.
I agree with you, but that wasn't the question. Maybe it won't be. Maybe it'll be somebody else that's not here.
Well, don't ask that question. Randy Gregory's going to be here. Now, maybe you are missing a different edge guy for some reason, and you could use an edge guy.
Hate this conversation.
But, yeah, of course, you would feel better if you had a first-round caliber player to replace them.
So do you have a preference on those three?
I have not studied Ojabo yet. Karlaftis over Johnson pretty comfortably for me.
Yeah,
Karlaftis is just one of those heavy-handed, can't stop, won't stop. Offensive linemen just can't sustain on him because he's just bam.
I feel like from what I know about him, that would almost be like a coup to get in that range of the draft. You know, like
something would have to happen.
But I kind of feel if I'm wrong.
Not really. You could have Hutchinson.
He's
and
not like
Thibodeau and Trayvon Walker, and maybe somebody takes Jermaine Johnson. Maybe he's the fifth edge off and Ojabo. Maybe he's the sixth edge. Off
he's not like a freakazoid bendy guy, though, right?
No, he will not test great.
And that's kind of my point.
I watched him work out a couple weeks ago.
I disagree. I mean, I think, to me, I just kind of, when you watch him play, whether he's a bendy guy or not, the way I have it is Thibodeau, Hutchinson, and him. That's how I have it, right? Those are my three right there.
My three, just like
if
that.
you want to throw Walker in there and Ajabo and Jermaine Johnson, but that's
okay. But Thibodeau and Hutchinson, Oregon and Michigan. For those of you keeping score. They're widely seen as like top 5 to top 10 picks.
Yeah, they're out of there. It's just a matter of what they order after.
How far below how much of a drop is Karlaftis?
He, to me, anywhere between 12 and 16.
Okay.
That's kind of where I have him.
Edge rushers get picked. That's what they do.
Yeah. One thing about the edge rusher spot, and if I know you said you hate this conversation, and I think we may try and push this to later in the week, but I think replacing an edge rusher in the second round would be more likely than replacing another position of need in the second round.
That's a one. All right,
just to let you know, you don't have to pick that guy in the first round. There's going to be a lot of edge rushers there that are really intriguing whenever 58 comes around.
How many edge rushers drafted outside the top 15 make a quick impact?
Not a lot.
It's
not a ton, though.
It's not easy to do.
Wide receivers is what we get in the second round.
Don't tweet me about TJ Watt. I know. All right. Well, we can tap dance around this a little bit more. I want to do a segment. Word coming out of Mobile. It's been discussed in Cowboys land all week about the potential of the ambiguous futures of DeMarcus Lawrence and Amari Cooper. Mm-hmm. We can get into a whole segment about that. For the time being, Selvin wants to know, on the off chance Amari Cooper's not here, how big of a need does wide receiver become?
Huge.
For me, if that were to happen,
do you have Wilson back?
I think it's need one. I don't know. You can't assume that, right?
I
think it's need one.
It's tied because technically you only have one safety on the roster as well. So I feel more confident about. They'll figure it out.
I feel more confident about at least getting KZ and Hooker back in the fold than.
Yeah. Well, if
Gallup
Cooper's gone,
Wilson.
you don't think they would?
I don't know.
Okay.
And I love Michael Gallup. We all love Michael Gallup, but
I threw that man a pizza party.
You're talking about him not being back from his rehab until potentially after training camp. That's not a guy that you can count on to be good to go to start your season, probably.
Yeah, we can find wide receivers, though. But, yeah, it becomes a huge need. Yeah, if Amari's not here, and then obviously it depends what you do in free agency, but the receiver room at that point is CeeDee Lamb and Simi Fehoko. That's the room.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you need multiple.
This is such not a fun class to be needing a wide receiver.
Oh,
Why
it's a
couldn't
fun
it
class.
happen
It's not a fun class.
last year again or something?
It's not a fun class to need a wide receiver one. It's
That's
a fun
fair.
class to need a wide receiver.
At least
Lots
you've
of
got
good
a.
ones.
At least you've got a.
Jeff can always get excited about
But
the
ask
receivers.
Jeff what he thinks about everybody being hurt at receiver, though. You have to evaluate all these receivers. The 2 Alabama kids, the USC
Oh, people
kid.
get hurt. I don't care. Yeah.
Is Drake London dealing with an injury?
Oh, yeah.
That flew
Banged
under my
up.
radar.
Yeah.
How significant?
Well, that's where he'd probably be ready for workouts and stuff like that. But there's people that are going to have to look at his. I think it was an ankle that he dealt with. But man, that guy, you talk about 13, 14 targets a game, catching 11 of them every single time. That's fun tape to watch.
He's
right
a workhorse.
There. Yeah, sure is.
How do we feel about the kid out of Arkansas?
I'll tell you what, man. That is one of those guys that it's almost like watching. Jeff told you a long time ago
Dennis
about Debo. Yeah. Dennis Rodman.
He's a power forward.
Power forward.
God, I did a broadest right there. I'm very sorry. Traylon Burks is who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Arkansas.
Yeah.
I just
see. It's hard sitting in that chair.
I just want to make sure that even somebody who knows nothing about the draft can follow
Burks,
this.
Yeah,
Whereas
absolutely.
when you get going, it's just like, oh yeah, the Arkansas guy.
No, Burks.
Anyway.
But Burks, the thing with him is, and Jeff told you a long time ago about Deebo Samuel coming out of South Carolina. This kid, they line him up at a lot of different spots. They hand him the ball. They give him the jet sweeps. They throw him screens. They throw it down the field. He's one of the best players at Arkansas. Arkansas was ranked in the top 10 for a long time until they went to Georgia, and then had a little bit of a bad stretch. But this guy was one of the best players in the SEC receiver-wise. You talk about all the Alabama kids and stuff like that. You watch this kid from Arkansas, Burks, play. I go, you'll be super impressed with him and how tough he is.
So you don't, Jeff, you don't think this would be a good year to want a receiver at 24?
I could take a receiver at 24.
He'll take the Alabama kid, Williams.
Which one?
Williams.
Yeah.
I would take, in order, Garrett Wilson, at Ohio State at number 24, if I could.
Wow, he's your number one?
Uh-huh. I would take Traylon Burks, the Arkansas wide receiver, at number 24. And I would be willing to take Jameson Williams, the Alabama speedster, at number 24. So, yeah, I got 3 different guys that I could take there.
Okay.
And Garrett Wilson, just a brief scouting report because he is my wide receiver one. I just think the NFL right now, there's a lot of different things that are really important at wide receiver. But to me, some of the most important are can you separate and what do you do after the catch?
Yeah.
And Garrett Wilson's just got the explosive movement skills to separate at the top of routes. And then he's almost punt returner-ish with enough power that he's hell after the catch, too. So Garrett Wilson is my wide receiver one and also the one I trust the most. Like Traylon Burks, I really like. Traylon Burks doesn't really separate. Traylon Burks is more of screen game and down the field.
He's not a great route runner.
Right.
It's
He's
more.
He's
route
not even
runner.
good at getting himself in position for deep balls.
It
But
seems
it doesn't matter.
he relies
Because he's a power forward.
Because he's a power forward.
physicality and athleticism.
I have
Yeah.
a feeling
Yeah.
if you put him with a really good quarterback, you might see a different player. I really do. Yeah, they got an offensive tackle playing quarterback there at Arkansas.
Yeah, that doesn't help. That doesn't
Yeah.
help. But I mean, just in terms of if you compare him to both Ohio State
Can
guys.
I
Chris
get any
Olave.
love? Okay, can I get any love for Olave at Ohio State?
I love Chris Olave.
Football looks so easy to that dude.
I know,
He
isn't it
looks
crazy?
He's the smoothest football player like ever.
Yeah.
Does it give you any pause, the fact that the one game that they didn't play in, Jackson Smith and Jigba went for 400 yards
so
and 6
I was gonna
touchdowns?
say-
He's the best one.
Jameson Williams
As soon
left
as they
Ohio
left.
State because he couldn't get on the field.
Yeah.
They got Wilson and Olave coming out this year, and the kid that can't go pro set every Rose Bowl record in the world.
Texas,
Blew it all
right?
up.
Yeah.
Tell it to the Georgia defensive
Rockwall.
tackles. Georgia might have 2 defensive tackles go in the first round, and the best one isn't draft eligible. Jalen Carter's better than
Next year.
Jordan Davis.
You're
and
already
he's
trying to trade
better
picks
than,
for him.
yes.
All right,
I will trade both Ohio State receivers and both Georgia D tackles for the next Georgia D tackle.
Glad you're learning about this scouting stuff.
That's always how it goes,
Oh, no,
right?
you're sitting
Every
there-
time you
no.
turn on these games, you're like, yeah, but look at the true sophomore.
Who's that number? Who's that number 9 playing defense? Oh, don't worry about him. He's a sophomore. Oh, okay.
Keep that in mind.
All right, we're gonna wrap this up with a question from Brian with an I. We've talked a lot about Tyler Linderbaum. He's kind of on that short list,
Yes.
the Iowa center. I know you would draft him. That's
Take him.
That's not the question. Brian wants to know is it a luxury to spend a pick like that on a center, given that you've already sunk 2 seasons of starting into Tyler Biadasz? I guess basically the question is Biadasz that much of a liability that it's worth drafting a replacement that highly? Because if you draft Tyler Linderbaum, he's starting. Like, he's not going to sit behind Tyler Biadasz.
When you drafted Tyler Biadasz in the 4th round, late in the 4th round, did you expect him to be your long-term center?
I'm glad you said that, because I think Remington Award winner and Wisconsin coming right after Travis Frederick, I think
it was unrealistic.
Getting drafted to this team didn't do Tyler any favors because people expect him to be Travis,
and he's not.
Right,
he never will be.
And he was never projected to be,
or he'll be better
than Travis.
I just don't appreciate the doubting over here for this guy. He's just trying
I
his
like
best.
Tyler as a person.
If anything, I think we're giving Tyler a vote of confidence.
Exactly, and he was not put in a position. I agree, from draft day forward, to have the right expectations. They never were there, because immediately he was the guy. And then this year, he was the only guy, because Joe Looney wasn't even on the roster, and your next best center is the guy that was playing next to him who had never played center in his life. And that was Connor Williams, who's not on the team any longer. So now it's just Tyler Biadasz. So I don't think it's a luxury. I think it's a pretty hard need.
If you have a chance at Linderbaum, you pick him, because when you don't pick the best player, eventually you look back and be like, what, are we, stupid?
Yeah.
Like, if you at 24 had him available and you pick a different position that you don't think is as good a player, but it's like,
Wilson.
But we need it more. Linderbaum.
Oh, okay.
Even if what if Cooper's not here? Just go way off the rails.
Linderbaum.
Still Linderbaum for me.
Because otherwise you look back at it and you have massive regrets, because you're like, oh, we did correctly identify that guy was going to play in a bunch of Pro Bowls, but we got a decent starting receiver because we, quote, needed it. Screw that.
Yep.
Pick the player that's the best player, and you won't regret the pick.
Is there a player that at 24 that would take you off Linderbaum?
I think you tried to do this to him a week or so ago.
I'm just curious. Yeah. I'm just curious.
Yeah, Aiden Hutchinson.
Yeah, that's what it was. That was his answer a couple weeks ago.
Kayvon Thibodeau.
The other
maybe Evan Neal, maybe Iquanu.
The other thing that makes me
really good.
Maybe Sauce?
Locked in on Linderbaum.
Yeah.
The thing that makes me so locked in on Linderbaum is it's him.
Is he perfect?
And then it's a bunch of guards.
Yeah.
And then it's like Donovan West is my next highest graded center.
Well, that's the funny.
Maybe
Have you seen
snapping.
Alec Lindstrom from Boston College?
I haven't watched him yet. I haven't watched.
You need to watch
when
him.
Zion was snapping. They were like, "Hey, do you want us to help you make some money if you can do this well?"
You like those Boston College interior guys?
I'll tell you what, Boston College has put a lot of offensive linemen in this league.
You're not wrong.
I mean, I think it's a fair question. Like, I don't think Tyler is as bad as people give him credit for, but I do think Linderbaum seems to be good enough that if you have that opportunity,
probably the least amount of holes in a player, Linderbaum, maybe.
Yes.
In the whole first round, or just in the Cowboys' range of picks?
No, in the whole first round.
Jeez.
Yes.
Would you say the lack of weight then, right?
Doesn't bother me.
Kind of bothers me.
I'm
be
good with
honest
it.
with
Under
you.
300.
Yeah.
A lot of people think he's
I bet
small,
there's-
but I don't think
I
there's
bet
any.
there's 12 starting centers in the league that are under 300
This team won. This
Ooh,
team
that's
won
good.
a Super Bowl with
a research
Mark
project. I'm gonna
Stepnowski
mark
playing.
that.
Yeah.
Jason Kelsey was 280 when he came in the league.
Oh yeah.
All right.
Give
I
me
feel
Jason
better.
Kelsey.
I feel a lot better. All right. Thanks, guys. All right. We got to 4 questions. It's not
did
our
good.
best, but it's not our worst.
You did
Thought we
good.
were going to get to 10.
We will try to improve.
How many did you write down?
I like to have margin for error. I wrote down 8. We got to 4. It's fine. We can answer them Thursday.
It's a lot better than writing down 3.
When we
and
come-
hoping you could get to 4.
When we come back from this break, we will dive back into the Senior Bowl. We got a little bit more to talk about. Stay with us.
Football season is almost over, and that means tax season is here. With it comes taxiety. Filing taxes can be stressful if you choose the wrong partner. Don't let taxiety take over this tax season. Liberty Tax will help you get your largest possible refund or your money back. With more than 12,000 tax professionals nationwide, help is always around the corner. Check out Liberty Tax, proud partner of the Dallas Cowboys. Schedule an appointment today at libertytax.com/cowboys. Liberty Tax, a brighter way to do taxes.
Hey, Cowboys fans, if you're thinking about attending a game this season, visit cowboystravel.com to book your travel package today. Stay at the team hotel, have dinner with a Cowboys legend, and experience AT&T Stadium's exclusive VIP Owners Club. Also, tour the Star, get autographs from your favorite players, and talk X's and O's with me, Mickey Spagnola. The official travel partner of the Dallas Cowboys will take care of all your travel needs. Visit cowboystravel.com.
What do you call a group of grown men and women with their faces painted silver and blue who get together every week to share a 3-hour-long ritual of jumping, sinking, and toasting Miller Lite in 10-gallon hats while yelling, "How about them Cowboys?" You call it Miller Time in Dallas. Here's to the Cowboys. Here's to the original light beer. It's Miller Time. Celebrate responsibly. 2021 Miller Brewing Company, Fort Worth, Texas.
This is Chad Hennings, former cowboy and proud veteran of the United States Air Force. When my fellow military veterans choose VA, they receive life-changing benefits from the Department of Veterans Affairs. If you are a veteran, you may be eligible for healthcare, education, and training benefits, a home loan guarantee, housing assistance, and more. Choose VA for the benefits you've earned. Visit choose.va.gov to learn more. That's choose.va.gov.
This is the DallasCowboys.com Draft Show.
So my scouting report gets a ding today. I did a bad job as a host. I left off the read. So here's 2 reads for you at once.
There's a tax thing you got to do, right?
Liberty Tax is a proud partner of the Dallas Cowboys. Schedule an appointment today at libertytax.com/Cowboys. Also, Brian, you can invite Rowdy to your next event.
Jeff and I were talking about
Maybe
that.
We might do it.
At the Crawfish Boil.
Yeah. Yes.
Birthday parties, corporate
Bingo.
events, special deliveries, crawfish boils if you got them. Rowdy's the best. Games, entertainment, photo ops for all occasions. DallasCowboys.com/Rowdy. Book your appearance.
If you see the Rowdy van at certain locations, don't let that bother you.
I parked next to it today.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I'm right next to it.
Well, at least he was at work
Fit in
today
there.
and not somewhere a little more nefarious.
Yeah.
I am
Fish
Rowdy.
boil.
Kyle's gonna get Rowdy for the wedding as a ring.
Yes.
Oh, dude.
No, I want Rowdy at the crawfish
That'd be
boil.
fun.
Yeah.
All right.
Can you imagine me trying to eat crawfish
No.
with the Rowdy hands?
Or no, he'd have to take off the gloves.
No,
He'd
I
have-
want him to eat it with the hands on.
I wish-
And like put it in the smiley face.
We gotta,
It
like-
says photo op for all occasions.
We
so
gotta
that's an
auction
occasion.
off. We gotta auction off like a tape session with you.
And Rowdy?
No, well, if Rowdy wants to come, that's fine. But I just wish our listeners could have the opportunity to watch tape with Brian, because he'll tell you all about a guy's footwork, and then simultaneously be like, "Oh my God, look at the mascot! Look at he got taken out."
There's Corso.
Yeah,
I sit. My
great.
Corso one was the best.
He loves
I was
pointing out
watching
Lee Corso.
I was watching tape the other day, and I took a screenshot of it. It was Georgia, and he was right there. It was Georgia Clemson, the first game,
season opener.
And I clicked it. I sent Jeff and KT
Corso.
Corso.
he'll be like, "Oh my God, the ball girl got knocked into the kicking net. This is hilarious."
There was a
The Florida State ball boy, is that the one?
Florida
He's
State
like, "You
ball
seen
boy,
this
the
kid
red,
run?"
yeah, the red,
Redhead.
Oh, Red
Yes.
Lightning?
Red
Red
Lightning,
Lightning.
yeah.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
All right. The thing, I mean, Brian or Jeff, you brought it up. Like, the thing I love about this show is I had a whole third segment planned, but we talked about so few Senior Bowl prospects that I feel like we should get that out of the way while
doing
it's
the right
still
thing.
fresh.
Doing the right thing.
All right. So what we covered? Defensive line, a little bit of offensive
Quarterbacks.
line, quarterback. What else from the Senior Bowl? Who else caught your eye? I wanted you to talk about Jalen Petrie since you were so curious
like
about his
that
coverage
player.
ability.
Okay, Brian's got Petrie opinion that I'm going to let him deliver, but I'll tell you, when I was watching, Jalen Petrie is a Baylor safety. He'll line up as kind of their nickel, but he'll rush off the edge a bunch. He plays forward a ton. They play a bunch of zone. But you can tell watching tape that Jalen Petrie is the ringleader of that defense, and he sets a tone that is unreal. Everyone on that Baylor defense wants to hurt you. Yeah. Everyone. Yeah. And it starts with him.
I miss you, Dave Aranda.
And so
Exactly.
So I'm in my notes there, and I'm like, gosh, I have no clue if this dude can cover. None. Yeah. Because he's just kind of floating out there in his zones, and you can tell he's a smart player. And then the Senior Bowl stuff, every time that I saw, and you guys would have seen more than I did, but everything I saw on TV, it was like, oh, this dude's blanketing people.
Yeah.
If Jalen Petrie is a good cover guy, Jalen Petrie is a top 50 pick. Yeah. And so, like, I think Jalen Petrie helped himself a ton and became a name that I'm now intrigued by if you could get to the Cowboys' second-round pick.
Yep.
I'll tell you what, man. Man, you 8
Good
years.
job with
8
the-
years.
good job
you've
with
done
I
the
this.
finally figured out how to scout, Brian. Come on. Dap me
Damn
up.
it, man.
Let's go.
I mean, that is awesome.
Year 8. Got it.
I'm tired. I don't want to hear that. I want to hear you like MF his opinion, just
No,
like you're.
this
an
is
idiot.
Tyrone Matthew.
Whoa.
Okay, well that's a first rounder then.
Whoa.
No, this is Tyron. This is Tyron.
Tyron was like pick 68.
But yeah, but if you know he is him,
No, this is
you would
this
pick
is
him
Tyron.
higher.
This is Tyron Matthew.
Wow.
This is who this is.
I am listening.
Synthetic weed?
Yeah, this guy is a hybrid linebacker safety. He's sneaky. I mean, he'll shoot gaps. I mean, he has you talk about a high football IQ. This kid right here has it. Because you watch him play, he communicates. It's like he's talking to the corner. He's down low on the right side of the formation, and he's talking to the left corner about a crosser. You could tell he's like pointing, and he's pointing to the other side of the field. Like, this guy's going to drag this thing. Get ready. And so, I mean, the awareness, the instincts. I mean, he could play the ball. I mean, you're right about the coverage stuff. I mean, you were kind of thinking, oh, well, how is he going to play? But the quickness, the change of direction. I'm serious. I will. If you told me I could draft a kid that like you pet cat kids and stuff, this is the kid right here. He loves to play football, and he's really, really good at it.
You know what's exciting for me about that is I actually have faith that this staff might draft a guy like that.
Well,
because for so many years, that type of player felt like he was off the table here. I have a vivid memory. Somebody on that side of the building.
Safeties as a linebacker.
Exactly. Whatever year he was drafted. Remember how much we loved Budda Baker?
Sure.
We loved that guy.
Yeah.
And what I kept hearing from that side of the building was, where do you play him?
Yeah.
And I just remember being like, you play him on the field.
Yeah.
I don't care.
It's one of the 11. It's one of the 11 that go out there and try and make plays.
And I have confidence that Dan Quinn might actually do that.
He could, especially with the versatility that he has. Now, this is fun because this is my third year scouting with you guys, right?
Uh-huh.
And I feel like this might be one of those guys that I disagree on wholeheartedly.
Okay.
This coming from a Baylor fan.
And that's the thing is I've been known to ride for the guys that I know play well for my team, right? I mean, go back to Jalen Darden last year with North Texas, and I mean some of the guys early on. I agree with you in terms of the physicality and the versatility with Jalen Petrie. He's going to go all over the place. He's going to play anywhere. He's a physical player when he wants to play. He takes a lot of plays off for me. He brother-in-laws these guys. He takes a lot of plays off. He doesn't play to the whistle. Ultimately, one of the things with him that I kind of saw as the Baylor side of things is once he got the reputation as being the ringleader, he wasn't the ringleader anymore. It was Terrell Bernard, the linebacker, who was also a Senior Bowl guy, by the way. It was those two guys that were kind of trading places. In the big games, Petrie wanted to step up and play. In the Iowa States and the Kansas States games and the Oklahoma State, the first one, not necessarily the second one in the Big 12 championship game, he was just kind of there. He wasn't a impact player. I still think he's a second-round talent. I'm not saying he's going to fall out of the second and that you shouldn't take him on day 2. And if he doesn't fall to you, or if he does fall to you at 58, that doesn't mean you shouldn't take him. He's a good player, but I do have my reserves about him, even as a guy who's watched him play for 4 years, is ultimately my case. I don't think I would put him as high regard as a Tyrone Matthew at that point, but I do like the idea behind his versatility and what he could do on a defense.
I like what Brian said better. It got me more excited.
Just brought you right back down.
I like what Kyle said better. I like a little bit of hate.
Little disagreement.
Just a little hate. A little hating going on.
I made a note
about his own guy.
I made a note.
He said he doesn't like his own guy.
Petrie hates football. I wrote that down, so I'll have that.
I don't know if he hates football, but he only hates.
Would you draft a guy in the
games.
second round you hate that hates football?
No.
Okay, then your analysis, then you should not have him in the second round.
Ooh,
okay.
Oh, get him.
No, I'm just saying that's true. If you don't think that the guy can make plays, or it takes plays off, or is lazy and all that, don't put him in the second round.
Let me say it this way then.
Thibodeau, third round.
Richie Grant last year, UCF, who ended up going 3 picks before the Cowboys were on the board, and Mike McCarthy slammed the table because of it. That guy I would be doing backflips over instead of Petrie.
Okay.
At the same spot.
But I'm just saying though, if you're going to evaluate these guys, then don't have him as one of the top 50 players.
Sure.
I mean, to me, if you came out, I would have more respect for you if you came out and said that he was. I don't see this guy as a second round player. I understand that if you disagree with me about the Tyrone Matthew thing, that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. But don't tell me all those things, and then when I get with you in a discussion, that you still have him in the second round.
Yeah, I have
that.
him
That to me does nothing for me. I appreciate the fact that you are passionate about the player, that you've seen the player, that you don't think he could do that. Mm-hmm. But if you say, hey, this guy's a 4th, 5th round guy, then I'm like, okay, he's committed to that. Which you don't sound committed to the guy. That's what I'm saying.
I'm a back half second round guy. 60s.
You killed the kid. You didn't think you said he doesn't play all the time.
I want to divorce this.
Did he?
Huh?
Did he say he didn't play all the time?
Man, I'm spectating. I got
no. I'm asking a question.
I'm asking a question. He takes 30% of the plays off. So
what does he do the other 70 then?
That's outside of the top 60 for me.
So I want to
then put him there
before we kill this guy too quickly, who none of us have ever met. Not specific to Petrie, but you as a scout, if you get that vibe about a guy, how much does that ding him? That he
doesn't like football?
If he takes plays off, or if his tape is inconsistent, like if he's clearly got the talent.
Yeah, but I mean the thing
but
about
he's got inconsistent tape.
Yeah, if you watch the tape and he's not making plays and he's standing around and he's not in the pile and he's not doing all those things, you put him where you think, okay, it's not about the talent. You could say all the things you want about the talent. You like, hey, this guy can run. Mm-hmm. He at times is physical. You got to put him if he's not making plays. See, the thing about the reason I would say that this guy is Tyrone Matthew is because he does make plays. You know, he is in piles. He is in he sees them a different way. That's cool. But I mean, to me, the thing about it is, I look at this, if he's not doing those things, this guy loves football. I could tell he loves football the way he plays. Now, if he sees them a different way, that's cool. You know,
I'm here for this.
But if I see a guy that has all the talent in the world that doesn't love football, we had a guy that was a tackle way back in the day named Ben Coleman that played at Wake Forest. Ben Coleman was at Jacksonville with us. Ben Coleman only cared about making money to start the Cold Stone Creamery ice cream things. That's the only thing he cared about. He didn't care about. He just played football to do that.
Yeah.
He was a super talented player. But, you knew in your heart, you're like, this guy doesn't care about football. So put him where you think that he's like where if you feel like he's not that type of a player, that he really is not going to be a great fit for you and not play hard all the time, you got to put him down there. And if he ends up being an all-pro and all that, then that's fine.
When you say down there, 4th round, like
I don't know
how much of a knock is that?
I have the guy in the top 50.
Yeah.
My friend here does not. I mean, he said he did. But then he's crawfishing on me right now.
I said there's a chance, and I may have said it wrong.
Stick to it.
I think he's outside the top 60.
Okay.
I think he's a bottom half second round player.
Okay.
And that's kind of where it is. If
but
he's picked at 58,
described him,
that's fine.
but you described him as a guy that nobody should want.
I described him as a guy that wasn't Tyrone Matthew. That's ultimately my decision making there. I didn't want to kill the guy as he doesn't love football. I just don't think he plays up to his ceiling. He has a high ceiling. He has that versatility, the athleticism, the hitting ability. He comes up and plugs the run. I have Will come down, lay a hit at the line of scrimmage, and takes great angles to the football, which he does on tape every single time.
Sure.
However, when he decides to take a play off, he sits there, kind of hangs out, daps up the guy on the other line of scrimmage, and it's not necessarily plays that are like run plays to the opposite direction. That's
4th round?
No.
Okay.
Late second, early third.
Okay.
I'm excited. I'm taking notes when we disagree about players because to this point, it's been mostly kumbaya.
If he's a bust, I'll be the first one to admit it. I mean, I do. I think this kid's got some special traits.
The irony,
I really do.
The irony, like we did this extra segment to get to more players, and we've gotten to one. Brian, what do you got, Brian? Give me a guy. Who'd you like?
Well, no, go ahead. I'm
asking you.
What for?
Another guy from the Senior Bowl that you thought was impressive, or you liked their tape?
I tell you what. To me, I was on board because we were just talking about this kid, and I like what he did to finish out the game with the Petrie thing and all that. I mean, I think that's what Jeff was talking about. You saw the cover skills. Those were the things that I think to me, and the way that he was able to make the last play in the game. The interception to seal this thing up. I think that's something you have to be happy about.
I'll steal Brian's time and give you another guy.
Thank you.
Jalen Tolbert, South Alabama wide receiver.
Yeah.
I saw you tweeting about him.
I just saw a little bit of the stuff he was doing at the Senior Bowl, and it was about the same time. I want to say I saw him in one practice and then watched his tape that night. Jalen Tolbert, South Alabama receiver, is a really good player. Obviously, the level of competition isn't great for a lot of the games that he played, but he played Tennessee too, and he hung up like 7 for $150 and a touchdown. And it's nuance. It's knowing how to play wide receiver, where you can sort of change speeds in a route. You can kind of manipulate where is a corner and where do you think I'm going and where am I going to end up. So Jalen Tolbert, South Alabama, I think is a really well-rounded, good player that is potentially top 50, top 60 pick. That's a South Alabama wide receiver that I think that highly of.
You're not the first person I've heard say that. And it's so easy to evaluate receivers at these events, but I did think that there were a lot of guys that stood out. I mentioned him in the break, and again, like, I'll just be selfish and bring up a guy that I really like, but Christian Watson out of North Dakota State. I mean, it's easy to fall in love with a big receiver, but I just like his skill set. I like his physicality. He's versatile. Like, he can play in the slot at 6'4", which is fantastic, especially as a team that might be looking for a guy that can do stuff like that. I thought he was really impressive. Made a great diving catch in the game on Saturday afternoon. It's ironic because I think we know the Cowboys don't like these small school guys. I mean, they'll tell you they do, but they never draft them. There are a lot of small school guys down there that I really liked. Like,
Let me ask you this: in practice, did the kid Abraham Smith from Baylor had a really good game? Did you notice him at all at practice?
Not during the week, to be honest with you.
So he just showed up as a gamer. Then is what happened to him.
Yeah.
How was he as a player then? I mean, how is he as a running back?
This was his first year as a running back.
Oh, really?
He had 1,600 yards. He was a linebacker his first 3 years of Baylor, then switched to running back, had 1,600 yards, was the best running back on the team, very physical. Yeah, bowling ball.
I'm just asking. I knew you would sit. You can just sit over there and be quiet.
It's an easy position.
But you're
Jeff hates running backs.
He was not stand out in terms of the practices. I thought Devontae Price from FIU had a better week of practice. My top running back.
Yeah, bring up your Florida guy.
Yeah, it was Damian Pierce.
Okay.
I thought he had the best week out of anybody in terms of a tailback, but I like Abram Smith a lot. He's a good runner.
It's amazing. He showed up. If you watch the game, though, he showed up in the game. The way he carried the ball and stuff like that.
I mean, if there's a position that's harder to evaluate than not that it's hard to evaluate receiver, but it's just easy to see them stand out.
Yeah.
Rashad White out of Arizona State. Every time he got the ball in practice, he jumped out to me. He's a big boy.
And it's so hard because there's so many rotations, and you're trying to evaluate the offensive line going up against a rotation in front.
You do this enough, you can kind of tell
when it's a running back.
But even in a non-contact setting, you can tell, like, okay, that run would have popped even if it was contact. And it felt like
Pierce and Arizona State.
Rashad White had a lot of those where I was like, holy crap, he's past the safety before anybody can even get a hand on him.
Yeah.
So
he's a long runner.
Big strides. I mean, he runs tall too. Like he's got a very straight up stature. All right, we sort of covered some more ground on the Senior Bowl, but hey, we got
first fight.
We got 9-0.
a fight.
Jalen Petrie.
I was about to say that was good.
Jalen Petrie is circled in the notes. Not a fight, but I'm glad we've got some guys we can look back on and say, hey, you were really right about that guy. Or
I'll probably be really wrong.
Man, you're an idiot. All right, guys, we got plenty more weeks to sort this out. We got plenty more Senior Bowl and non-Senior Bowl guys to get to. We will see you Thursday. Thank you so much for joining us here on The Draft Show. Talk to you next time.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.